Mr. Rao, for a first reaction from the principal opposition party, the BJP. Mr. Rao, what did you make of Arvind Kejriwal taking things to the next level against the Congress, against Robert Vadra, against the government in Haryana, getting much more specific with those allegations that he first made a couple of days ago? Your first reaction?
I think the Congress party and the government both seem completely rattled by what has been happening over the past week or so, and they're completely cornered. And after having called, after saying that these allegations are against a private individual, you have the spectacle of the entire government coming out in defense of Robert Vadra,
yes,
and people like the high and mighty politicians and ministers like Mr. Chidambaram and the corporate affairs minister Moily coming out to in the defense of Vadra. It clearly completely shows how the politics of the Congress party is entirely governed and entirely commanded by one family, and the very existence of all these ministers who have a great profile in public life is completely at the mercy of a family. I think it shows the influence that this family wields in the government.
Okay.
And also importantly, I think for the first time, the Gandhi family is in the eye of a public storm, and Robert Vadra is simply not able to come up with any convincing explanation. I think they would have, their image has suffered a big knock. All this coming at a time when the prices, the common man finds it difficult to really make his two ends meet. And here you have politicians in the garb of businessmen who are simply minting crores of rupees. Unless you give them a valid explanation, it is certainly going to leave a lot of doubts in the public mind.
Gaurav Sawant, editor Gaurav Sawant is also with us. Gaurav, 2 days ago, Arvind Kejriwal had dropped the bomb on Robert Vadra with these allegations first. Now, obviously, after the entire reaction to those allegations, he's taken things to the next level. He's gotten much more specific, and he has sort of expanded his broadside, hasn't he, Gaurav, to bring in the Haryana government, DLF in a more direct manner, as well as the Congress directly. He's harping on that quid pro quo angle now.
I am going through these 20 pages that Arvind Kejriwal and his team have just released to media, including maps of land that was allotted to DLF. Arvind Kejriwal alleges that the Haryana government was actually acting as an agent for the DLF, and that's an extremely serious charge. That's a direct charge that Arvind Kejriwal is now leveling against the Haryana government. Remember, the Congress government has been very proud of its land acquisition policy and has been saying that this is an example that perhaps should be adopted by other states as well. But here there is direct criticism. There is a court order that talks about the nexus, Punjab and Haryana High Court order that Arvind Kejriwal is quoting. He's talking about maps. He's going into specifics of properties that were allotted to Sonia Gandhi, the Congress party president's son-in-law, Robert Vadra in this case, going into specifics of both Aralias and Magnolia, where he's saying that the price, that 5 crore for one apartment should be market price, but in that 5 crore, 7 properties were allotted to Robert Vadra, and he says somebody needs to come out with the truth on these allegations. He's asking for a white paper on land allotment to DLF during the Bhupender Singh Hooda regime. So extremely serious charges and specific charges here, Shiv.
I'd like to draw your attention again, Sunil, to this state of affairs. A second installment of allegations by Arvind Kejriwal. You've seen what's happened over the last couple of days. Senior ministers have come out to defend Robert Vadra. Today, the finance minister and the corporate affairs ministers have spoken. The corporate affairs minister said that there is no irregularity, nothing is wrong. Is this the right way to go about these allegations, Sunil Alag? Your view?
You know, I mean, I want to say one thing. Look, what is happening out here is generally when two political parties get involved in any particular issue, we tend to lose track of the issue concerned.
Yes.
Right now, Arvind Kejriwal has raised some very serious allegations against the deals between DLF and Robert Vadra. Now, this can be handled quite easily because DLF is it's a public company, it's listed in the stock exchange.
Yes.
Any shareholder can go and take a look at, and even the independent directors have come out with a statement saying they were unaware. The easiest thing for the company law board or even a regular shareholder to do is to get the independent directors and ask them direct questions, call them in and ask them how come these deals took place. Have they given an interest-free loan to anybody other than Robert Vadra?
Yes.
Do they normally give 85 crores as an interest-free loan? And once these questions are asked, you'll immediately know whether DLF was doing the right thing or not. You are able to actually take care of all the board of DLF first in going ahead with deals of this nature. Okay, that's one thing which should be done immediately. And should be done in most companies. Now we are forgetting all that, because you'll find the independent directors will very quickly come and say, look, we don't have anything to do with this. I don't know who did this. And then the whole thing will come out.
Good point. Because
they will do that audit on their own and they'll bring it out. Now comes the second part when BJP and the Congress and all get going at each other. And, and then what I dislike is they will talk about the 2G scam, then Congress will talk about Yadiyurappa.
Yes,
there's nobody clean
indeed
in the government anymore. So I'm totally in support of Kejriwal. And we should just stick with the Robert Vadra case one at a time. Have another session when you want to talk about all the scams which we are aware of. Once you take 15 minutes in talking about Colgate, 2G, everything, you lose track of the Robert Vadra case. I think this is the big one. This is something which needs to get investigated. First, investigate DLF itself. Any shareholder can go and take a look at it. Ask all the independent directors, call them in, and then take it to the political level on saying how did the Congress government in Haryana give this land, and if needs be, like Mamta got all the land returned in Bengal, even though it was sold to Tatas, get it all back. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So you're saying you support the call for a comprehensive inquiry into these dealings, including into DLF. GVL Narasimha Rao, the BJP is called for an inquiry, but the BJP itself could be under attack. You heard Arvind Kejriwal criticize the BJP as well in that press conference, and you've heard the rumors, sir. There could be people from the BJP who may be targeted by Kejriwal as well.
I don't think one needs to read too much into these threats. First of all, I think the BJP has absolutely no skeletons to be worried about. If there is any individual against whom there are any kind of direct allegations, it's all being anyway raised in the public domain. There is nothing that prevents anybody from raising it. But the question is, I would agree with Mr. Sunil Alag that these issues need to be dealt with one at a time, so that we don't kind of confuse the people and then eventually say that there seems to be a problem with the whole system. I don't think the problem is with the whole system. I think I think sometimes we stretch things a bit too far. If there are specific allegations in this case, rather than push them under the carpet, I think a comprehensive inquiry would reveal as to how these transactions could be carried out. And in the name of transparency, how a lot of money a lot of properties are being bought up. I think this is where a lot of focus has to be laid. I think Kejriwal is in his own political avatar. He's trying to scoot, he's trying to shoot in various directions, and he's entitled to do so. And I have no, I think one need not restrain him from doing anything. Let him expose whatever he thinks. I think it's in the interest of this country that if there are any such murky deals, let this all come out in the public domain. But all this has to be on the basis of certain facts and evidences, and not simply throwing, not hurling allegations without any substantive proof. I think this is where their credibility would be at stake. If they come up allegations which don't stick, if they come up with allegations which don't have any basis, then he will turn out to be another ordinary neta. So one will have to watch and see whether he gets carried away by this kind of propaganda, with this kind of publicity that his allegations have got. Unless there is substance, I think this whole campaign will fall flat.
We'll have to see who the second person he is that he accuses in a couple of days from now. You're saying that he's shooting in all directions. Gaurav Sawant, over the last couple of days since the allegations first came out from the stage that Arvind Kejriwal was on, Gaurav, You've seen the Congress party, the government, throw everything they possibly can at this issue, apart from actually look at it in a substantive way, go into the allegations. But today, surprisingly, the Corporate Affairs Minister, Veerappa Moily Gaurav, came out and said there were no irregularities. What was all that about, Gaurav?
You're right. After these allegations were first leveled, the Congress fielded its heavy artillery.
Yeah.
And so much so that the Union Finance Minister also came and said, this is a matter between two individuals. Today, Corporate Affairs Minister Veerappa Moily said that these 6 companies of Robert Vadra had been looked into, and he didn't go into specifics. What was the looking into that was involved? And he said no irregularities were found there. But will this answer of the Corporate Affairs Minister satisfy Arvind Kejriwal, India Against Corruption, and the Aam Aadmi that they seem to represent, the mango people that
Yes.
Robert Vadra referred to very, very clearly here, Shiv? Arvind Kejriwal is a former income tax officer, and he says, if I had all these documents in my possession, this is a fit case for scrutiny, this is a fit case for raid. And he's giving out specifics of how that same money was used for intra-company loans, that same money was used to buy multiple flats, multiple properties, and show them, in the documents that have been filed with the registrar of companies. Will there be a scrutiny? Well, as of now, the finance minister says no, which Arvind Kejriwal insists he has no rights to do so, he has no authority to do so. Former Law Minister Shanti Bhushan says this is a fit case for Prevention of Corruption Act to be registered under Prevention of Corruption Act. Will that happen? That remains to be seen, Shiv.
That remains to be seen if a Prevention of Corruption Act case is actually filed. Just a couple of minutes left on this show. I want to give the last word to Sunil Alag. Sunil, is there any way out now that these allegations have gotten so specific against DLF and Robert Vadra, apart from an inquiry and a full-fledged explanation or a rebuttal to any one of those points made? Is there any other way that this issue can actually be killed from the government side?
The government may try and wiggle out of it. I'm still coming back. All you need is one DLF shareholder to take the entire board to task first in DLF. And once that's done, the government will fall apart, because there's no way then the company law board or the corporate affairs or the company affairs minister
can say,
I'm
not
not
happening,
interested,
Sunil?
because
Do you see
a
that
small
happening?
shareholder will have to come in.
Do you see
It
that
should
happening?
happen. I'm surprised that once you call all the independent directors in, and you've seen it happen in many companies now, where independent directors are being hauled up and saying you weren't looking after the minority shareholder. So all that needs to be done, and you'll watch how the beans are then spilled. I mean, unfortunately, you can almost make it sound a little humorous. This is Ajit, the actor.
Yes.
I mean, it seems that his famous sidekick Robert now has become a thorn in Congress's side, because it's a very simple thing. I don't think you should leave it to the political parties to solve it. Here is what the finance minister said. Take him on his face value, deal with it at a corporate level, and you'll find all the information coming out pretty quickly.
All right. So you're saying that there is a possibility that someone in DLF, an independent director, may call for those documents and actually initiate an inquiry at the corporate level instead of this being a political fight. This cannot be left to the politicians who have their own axes to grind. A quick reminder before we end this show of what Arvind Kejriwal said in his second installment of allegations against Robert Vadra. Here's what he said.
हम ये आज डिमांड करते हैं कि हरियाणा सरकार इसके ऊपर व्हाइट पेपर निकाले कि डीएलएफ को मौजूदा हरियाणा सरकार ने पिछले 10 साल के अंदर क्या-क्या फायदे पहुंचाए हैं। मोटे-मोटे तौर पे 5 तरह के फायदे पहुंचाए हैं। बहुत सारी जमीन डीएलएफ की कंपनियों के नाम पे रिलीज की गई है। पंचायतों की जमीन डीएलएफ की कंपनियों के नाम पे रिलीज की गई। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ एचआईटीडीसी की जमीन जो है वो डीएलएफ की कंपनियों को ट्रांसफर की गई है। डीएलएफ की कंपनियों के लिए एफआईआर बढ़ा दिया गया है और डीएलएफ की कंपनियों के लिए लैंड यूज बदल दिया गया है कई जगह। इन 5 मुद्दों के ऊपर डीएलएफ की कंपनियों के क्या-क्या फायदे पहुंचाए गए, इस पे हम लोग डिमांड करते हैं कि व्हाइट पेपर होना चाहिए।